He believed in us.
We actually cut spending.
The air war teed off earlier than ever.
Single year. And by the time
Now, a conservative super PAC is preparing a new pitch.
No, no, no. Not God bless America. God damn America.
With a provocative punch. And the battle lines are being drawn to control the House.
I will sign an affidavit that is going to be razor close.
I'm Megan Lieberman for the New York Times, and I am here now with Jim Rutenberg. So Jim, you and our colleague Jeff Zeleny have quite a blockbuster story today about a proposed super PAC ad campaign that would tie the president to his very controversial former pastor, Jeremiah Wright. And there has been such a firestorm about this story this morning that, in fact, the people behind this campaign have now officially rejected this proposal, right?
Yep, breaking news on nytimes.com. The billionaire investor who was behind this, or was going to be behind this, Joe Ricketts, has announced today through a spokesman that he is rejecting this proposal, and he is now saying it's not the kind of politics he wants to engage in.
A little bit of a turnabout from where we were maybe 24 hours ago. Now, John McCain famously chose not to go the Jeremiah Wright route in 2008, and many people involved in this effort initially thought that was a huge mistake on his part. But we've already seen Mitt Romney's campaign really push back against this morning, trying to distance themselves from this. And it does run pretty strongly counter to the strategy they've had so far, which is basically to say Barack Obama's a really nice guy, he's just in over his head, and can we talk about the economy?
Right. The Romney campaign doesn't like this stuff. They're going after the swing independent voter who voted for Obama last time, who they want to get to switch sides this time. They kind of need that voter to switch sides. That voter still likes Obama, may not love the job he's done, but these kind of attacks, in a lot of Republicans' view, could send those independents back to President Obama. Now, interestingly, the chief ad maker behind the proposal, Fred Davis, produced the Reverend Wright ad, or helped produce the Reverend Wright ad that McCain rejected. He thinks it's a mistake. It was a mistake at the time, and there are a lot of especially base voting Republicans who agree.
Right, and this has never gone away, the Reverend Wright issue on the right. Sean Hannity talks about it all the time, right-wing radio talks about it all the time. But it doesn't seem like Romney's style of politics in a lot of ways, and a kind of thing that he sort of is uncomfortable with, much in the way that John McCain was personally uncomfortable with it. And you talk about the president's likability. One of the things that this ad campaign seemed to be after was to try and undermine that likability, to say, you know, we have to go at his character in some way by at least associating him with bad people because he is so likable, and that's a problem for us.
Right. Like one of the interesting lines in this proposal, which was a 54-page bound booklet. Obviously, this was moving down the track.
Right. You had very elaborate storyboards, and
yeah, they had spent a time and money on the proposal. But the most interesting line to me was these independent swing voters do not hate this president.
They don't hate him yet.
They don't hate him yet, and that was their job. But I think they were acknowledging maybe they wouldn't be able to make people hate him, but they were saying, well, we can remind you of the kind of questionable things in his past that have made him a bad president, and this is why you think he's a bad president, for those independents who like him but aren't happy with the way things are going.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about Joe Ricketts, who is the man who was theoretically going to be behind funding this campaign. He's a rich guy, as you said. He founded TD Ameritrade. His family owns the Chicago Cubs. Who is he in political terms? He's gotten really involved in funding Republican causes in recent years, right?
Yeah, but he's new to the scene, so he's the latest entrant to this billionaires club of political players, mostly on the Republican side. He describes himself as conservative. He's not against backing some Democrats. His big issue is taxes and spending. He has huge problems with Obama, but he's dipping his toe into this onto this national stage, and he's learned today that it can have a lot of blowback. Some guys don't care. I think he does care. He's got a lot at stake in terms of his various businesses, so we're still trying to figure some of this out, but
more on Mr. Ricketts.
Yeah, for sure. Stay tuned tomorrow.
Stay tuned. Now, this campaign has gone down in flames, but given that Mr. Ricketts is going to stay involved, and there are a lot of Mr. Rickettses out there, or at least a significant number, as you say, on the Republican side in particular, this is not going to be the last of this kind of thing that we see this year, right?
Here's the challenge. Romney, I think today, his campaign was, it seems, laying down a marker for now. We don't want this. It gets us off of our message. They want to talk about the economy.
The economy.
That's it. They do not want this stuff. both campaigns could end up going to crazy places when desperation time comes, if it comes later. But they've laid down a marker. So, but how do you corral these groups? Because what this proposal was saying was, don't let the weak-kneed Republicans and their allies keep us from doing this. We're going to get some flack, but this is important. So that's going to be the tension
as we go forward.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks for having me.
The fierce contest for control of the House will also be fought over the airwaves and on the ground. Michael Scheer spoke with two men central to that fight.
And I'm the only one in Washington that's saying this. We're going to pick up some seats.
I'm not prepared to say that we're going to win 25 seats. I will sign an affidavit that it's going to be razor close.
The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee and the National Republican Congressional Committee are on the front lines of the struggle for control of the United States House next year. They do everything from recruiting candidates to doling out the cash. I had a chance to talk with the chairman of the committees to get a better sense of the factors at play. If you had to kind of pick an issue or a theme that most of these races are going to come down to, what is it? What's the choice?
Well, I think the choices really will be down to the direction that we're headed and the results that we've achieved. We have a record of trying to say that we're for more balance, we're for not spending as much money, we're for making sure the American people and American business is healthy.
I think most voters make a decision based on who's fighting for them. And if you are a senior and you're looking at a Paul Ryan budget that ends your Medicare in order to fund tax cuts for millionaires, you're going to vote Democratic.
I will give a message right now to Mitt Romney. I hope you come to every single congressional district in this country where a Republican is running. We want to be seen with Mitt Romney.
Do you think Barack Obama should come campaign for all of your candidates?
Well, the question is whether Mitt Romney wants to campaign with these House Republicans. I tell our candidates around the country, we've got 75 districts in play, 75 districts in play. Don't run as a congressional candidate, run as a problem solver. If there's a pothole outside somebody's house and they tell you that it's a problem, and you tell them, well, I'm running for Congress, that's not a federal responsibility, you're going to lose. And there's an unquenchable thirst by the American people, not for ideology, and not for did you stand with Mitt Romney or did you stand with Barack Obama, but did you pave my pothole? Did you solve my problem?
Is there anything, redistricting or else, that keeps you up at night worrying?
What I stay up at night worrying about is our ability to make sure we effectively communicate with the American people.
What is it that keeps you awake?
Super PACs. I think super PACs will transform the landscape for the worse.
And I am joined now by Michael Scheer.
Hey, Megan.
Hi, Michael. So let's start where that interview ended about the super PAC, since it's Super PAC Day here at the New York Times. It's interesting that this is an issue and a concern, a real concern for Democrats in Congress as much as it is on the presidential level.
Yeah, no, it's, the stuff that you just talked about before really puts an exclamation point on it. I mean, the congressional candidates and the super PACs have not been as much in the news on the level of on the Congress level, but they're just as worried, especially about the possibility that these congressional candidates work all the next 6 months, and at the last minute, these PACs could just dump
swoop in.
10s, 20, lot of money in, and essentially snatch away some of the victories they're hoping to get.
Now, not surprisingly, both of these guys offered a pretty rosy perspective of their chance of picking up seats, particularly Representative Sessions, who got a little out over his skis there and went pretty far ahead of where John Boehner's been. John Boehner's offered a much sort of cagier view, and let's hear what he had to say a couple weeks ago.
Are you hedging a little bit on this, or is it a lack of confidence?
I'd say there's a 2 in 3 chance that we win control of the House again. But there's a 1 in 3 chance that we could lose. And I'm being myself, frank. We got a big challenge and we've got work to do.
Now, that could just be John Boehner trying to gin up his troops or do some fundraising, but there's also really a legitimate chance that it's possible that the Democrats could take back the House. I mean, it's not that many seats, and there are a bunch of Republican congressmen now sitting in seats that Obama won in 2008, and then even John Kerry won in 2004.
Right. Anytime you have a big wave like the Republicans had 2 years ago, the danger is that the voters sort of pull back on it the next time. I mean, Pete Sessions, his whole job is to be a cheerleader, and so he's perhaps going further than he might want to, looking back later if things don't turn out turn out the way he wants. But but definitely the Democrats believe they have it shot. It's a lot of work to do, but the numbers mathematically are there for them.
Now, the strategies were also pretty clear there. The Republicans are going to run at President Obama. There's running against him. And the Democrats actually kind of have a tougher pitch because they don't really have a target in that way. They don't have a single figure to run after in the way that Republicans did, say, in 2010 when they were running against Nancy Pelosi. And she was this like embodiment of liberal San Francisco America. They just have not been able to do that with John Boehner. He's just a tougher guy to caricature for some reason.
Yeah, and I mean, you think back to what Democrats did with Newt Gingrich even years ago when he was sort of vilified as the speaker back then. Occasionally that can work. It hasn't really worked with Boehner. The Democratic strategy to pick up seats is to try to keep this at local. They think they have candidates in specific districts that will match up well against the Tea Party extremists, as they call them. The Republicans, on the other hand, they want to do the opposite. They want to make this whole election, whether it's congressional or presidential, a referendum on Obama. That's their ticket, they think. Yeah,
no, it was very interesting to hear Steve Earle sort of talk about wanting everyone to be Congressman Pothole. There's still also, obviously, events can overtake the strategy here. So, if gas prices spike, you're going to hear the Republicans suddenly running on energy and the Keystone Pipeline and those kinds of issues. And we don't know how the whole health care decision from the court's going to play out. So there are all these other variables that could play in that are not in their calculation right now.
Right, and I think both sides are kind of hedging their bets. They're going to put money in certain districts where they think they have opportunities, and if some of those issues really blow up, they'll either seize on them or shift resources depending on how that works. But the real unease in Washington right now is that I think whereas the House seemed much more secure maybe a year ago after the Tea Party kind of revolution really swept in, now, whichever side you talk to, they at least think it's going to be closer and that really puts, control of the House in question.
Thanks, Michael.
Sure.
Before we go, a look at a dust-up on the campaign trail yesterday that showed the power of social media in the 2012 campaign.
Yesterday, media management on the famously disciplined Romney campaign went a bit too far. Aides attempted to bar journalists from the rope line, one of the few places where they can hear the governor's unscripted interactions with voters and occasionally ask him a question. Reporters furiously tweeted about the incident, and within just hours, the campaign had reversed course. Likely, Team Romney didn't like the narrative that was quickly emerging over Twitter and on the web about their candidate refusing access. They said it was an error, but the fact that they backed down so quickly seems to also reflect at least some sensitivity to how publicly things played out. It's yet another example of the power of social media on the campaign trail.
That's all for today. Stay with us online for more on Campaign 2012. I'm Megan Lieberman. Thanks for watching.